In this activity, we'll be creating a program that utilizes control flow using the if and else if expressions. Once you're ready, let's hop into Visual Studio Code and get started. Once Visual Studio Code loads, navigate to your Activities directory. We are on Activity 3B, so double-click on A3B. Once the activity file loads, review the topic and program requirements. Attempt to implement a solution on your own with the video paused. Once completed, resume the video and I will demonstrate my implementation as well as provide insights to the activity topic. Alright, let's get started. As we can see, this topic is about flow control using if, and else. The program requirements are to display a message based on the value of a variable if it's greater than, less than, or equal to 5. Our notes indicate that we need to use a variable set to any integer value. We need to use an if, else block to determine which message should be displayed. And we should use the print line macro to display the messages to the terminal. We don't need to create a separate function for this particular activity, so I'll just make everything within the main function. The first thing we need to do is create a variable set to any integer value. I'll just call my variable n, and I'll set it to the value of 7. Next, we need to use an if, else block to determine which message should be displayed. I'm just going to go in the same order as the requirements. So the order shows greater than, less than, and then equal to 5. So we'll start with a greater than 5. So I'll type in the keyword if, the variable that we're checking, n. We're checking if n is greater than 5. So we'll use the greater than symbol and then 5. We use the curly braces to begin the body of this particular condition. And we then use the print line macro to display the message. So we'll display greater than 5, just as indicated in the requirements. We use a semicolon to end print line macros. Next, we need to use else if. So we do else. In the event that n is not greater than 5, then we'll go down here to the else, and then we add the if keyword to further constrain the conditions. So now we're on the less than 5 condition. So if n is less than 5, we'll just do another print line macro, less than 5. And finally, we'll do else again, except this time we're not constraining it by a condition. So if n is not greater than 5, and it's also not less than 5, then it must be equal to 5. We'll then create curly braces and print out equals 5 as indicated by the requirements. We'll step through line by line. We have our main function, and the first line executed is creating a variable. We're creating the variable named n and setting it to the value of 7, so that'll be placed into n. We then check, is n greater than 5? If so, we'll print out greater than 5. If it's not greater than 5, we'll check to see if it's less than 5. If so, we'll print less than 5. And if it's also not less than 5, then we won't check anything and we'll just say, okay, it's not greater, it's not less, then we're just going to do this. In this scenario, it means that it would be equal to 5, since if it's not greater than 5 and not less than 5, it must be 5. Seeing as how we set n equal to a value of 7, we should get the first if block here executed, which is greater than 5. Let's run the program and confirm that's the case. To run the program, go to Terminal, New Terminal. We are on Activity 3B, so type in cargo run -q -bin A3B. As we can see, greater than 5 printed out as expected since 7 is greater than 5. If we try changing this to something less than 5, like 4, we should get less than 5 printed out. And as expected, we got less than 5. And just for completeness, we'll set this to 5 to confirm that equals to 5 prints out. As we can see, when we set n equal to 5, we get the result of equals 5 printing out on our terminal. Generally, when you're using if and else if, it's a good idea to also include the final else block. That way, any condition that was not checked in the if and else will result in this occurring down here. The reason you'll want to do that is because including the else allows the Rust compiler to check your work in specific situations, which we'll be covering in future videos. This concludes the activity on if, else. I'll see you in the next presentation.